Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to United vs. Everybody. I am your host, Sean, and I am joining you from just a wet, rainy day here where I am in Michigan. It is so gross outside. All my allergy sufferers, can you feel me on that one? My head is bumping today, but nevertheless, I am here today to preview United's match against Newcastle. I'm going to throw a quick Q&A up there before I get started so you guys can get involved in that. But how's everybody doing today? It is Saturday. It doesn't feel like a Saturday, does it? It's Saturday, right? Yeah, it's Saturday. Just had to make sure. It doesn't feel like a Saturday. It feels like a Tuesday or something. It's so weird. Usman jumping in the chat. Good morning, Usman. Usman. So remember what I said regarding the membership before we get started on the preview here. So I said I got to look into it because the memberships are brand new to me. I just got those approved the other day. So thank you guys for helping the channel get to that point. I don't have any control, however, over who I can give those to, unfortunately. It's completely random. It seems like YouTube just wants to make sure there's not any sort of favoritism or anything shady. All I can do is once a month give away some memberships like I did the other day and in hopes of doing that. So we will get you sorted if possible. I don't have any. It's just the way YouTube works. I wish I had more control over it. I wish I could hook you up, my guy. I can't. In the meantime, though, Usman, you're more than welcome to, like, I made you a moderator, and we'll try to get you hooked up next time. You're more than welcome to get some thoughts in. I'll hook you up with the same perks, in kind of unofficial way if you want to, throw out a player that you'd like me to do a scout report on, or want to predict the starting 11, we can get you hooked up. But I just don't have any control over it, unfortunately. It's the way YouTube works, man. It's just completely random. Yeah, like Danny says, memberships are chosen like a lottery. It is what it is, my guy. I apologize for that. Like I said, you had the opportunity. You did win the shirt. You could still get the shirt if you want. So it is what it is. But you let me know. But hopefully it doesn't ruin your time here on the channel. We've appreciated you being part of the channel, Usman. You've been around for a while, so stick with it. We value your opinion. We value your presence in the chat and everything, and just happy to have you here, man. But we'll get you sorted. So, but Danny, good morning, my friend. Good to see everyone today. How's everyone feeling today? Is everybody, like, for some reason, this Wolves match has taken me a lot longer to kind of get over, I guess. I'm still very, very annoyed, very, very frustrated, and quite frankly, just pissed off at the players mostly. It's really frustrating. I'm not really mad at Ruben Amorim about it or anything like that, aside from like the set piece stuff. Like, someone really needs to figure out the set pieces. But I'm still so frustrated about it. So Danny says being a mod is better. Yeah, Danny, you wield the power, Usman. You get to decide now. No, the mods are great. Just all I need you guys to do is just make sure no one's being mean in the chat. No one's spamming anything. There's nothing inappropriate going on. You guys handle that for me. But we are back. We have a tough test on Monday as we face Newcastle in a bid to really kind of maybe start making the climb up to the back of the top of the table. We're down in 14th. It's not great. We have 22 points, just one win in our last 5 league matches. It's really not a good look. Newcastle are in 5th. But again, the table is so weird. Newcastle are literally just 7 points ahead of us. So again, it's just so weird how the table is right now. The difference in 9th places is literally 7 points. Now, it's a big ask for us to get a run of form going, but I think that, this is where we're at right now. But I said, as you saw before, it was like, oh, and we're 6 points out. Now we're 7 points. If we don't start putting together some sort of run of reform, it's going to be out of our hands. And then we're just hoping on other clubs dropping points. We don't want to be in that situation the way other clubs are playing right now. The best bet we have in terms of teams like Fulham and Forest dropping points is the fact that they don't have the squad depth to sustain. We just have to bank on that. So it's so crazy this year. In any case, 3 points is a big ask against an informed Newcastle. They are flying, but our players really need to start delivering. They have not been showing up. They're not winning their individual batters. They're switching off in defense, not attacking the ball on set pieces, not making the right decisions in the final third. We're too hesitant, too slow, too cautious. We don't back ourselves in any area of the pitch, and that needs to change. And it's not as simple just to say Amorim's got to fix this. Amorim's got to fix this. It's not that simple. Anybody who's got kids, anybody who's taught students, anybody like me work with clients. It's not as simple to just tell somebody to do something or not to do something, and then everything changes. It's not the way it works. It takes time. Amorim never got a preseason. He doesn't get to train. He doesn't have any signings. He's basically just having to struggle. And while I've criticized the heavy rotation, like I feel for him the same way I felt for Ten Hag in a lot of ways as well, for different reasons, of course. So, what's everybody saying here? Danny says, finish with him till Ineos step up. Yeah, some of these players have got some blood on their hands, and we've all said that before. It's nothing new. Danny says, we're getting battered 3-1. Danny just wants to get the predictions out of the way and over. He doesn't even want to bother. He says, Newcastle not great on the road. That's my only hope. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about form today. We're going to talk a little bit tactics, how Newcastle's set up, how we can maybe put ourselves in the best position to do something. We're going to talk a little transfer news to start. You guys let me know if you want me to do a little mini scout report. I have one set up. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do one. Like I said, I'm not going to do one every single video, but we can do one if you want. You guys let me know. Box, good to see you again. Yo, lads, can't see anything but 3 defeats in the next 3 games. Oh, I forgot to put that little poll out there. What are you guys saying here? Yeah, it is a bit of a little bit of a rough one, isn't it? It's not looking good for us. Let me close that. Make it a draw, maybe a draw in them 3. I think that the Arsenal match is probably our best chance for a draw, honestly, but we'll get to that one a little later on. But you guys get your thoughts in on the chat. Let me go back to my notes here. But yeah, it's simply not being good enough from United in every area. And honestly, one wonders when and how, or even if it's going to turn around right now. But again, we're going to preview the match. So like the video, subscribe to the channel. We are on the road to 3K. So you guys get involved. Thank you for getting us to 2K. You guys are absolute legends. Hit the notification bell if you don't want to miss out on any of the action throughout the year. Let's start with a little transfer news. Starting particularly with potential some left back news. So this is coming from Fabrice Hawkins. This came out yesterday. You guys might have seen this. So it's pretty decent source when it comes to French football news. He claims that United have made an offer for PSG left back Nuno Mendes. Yes, it's pronounced Mendes. And the player wants to leave PSG after the 2 parties have kind of failed to come to an agreement in terms of new contract terms. What do you guys think of Nuno Mendes? Do you think this could happen? Do you think that this is a legit rumor? Do you like the player? Does that maybe mean we saw some Theo Hernandez news? Maybe Theo's going to PSG. If this is all true, I could see him fitting in there. You guys let me know what you think. Liverpool Box is dreading the Liverpool game. Yeah, we don't want to talk about that. We're just going to go to sleep and pretend that didn't happen. Usman says, my internet's very bad today, so I won't be watching today. It's very laggy. No problem, man. Hit that like button on your way out, though, for me, Usman. So here's my issue. I have 2 issues with Nuno Mendes. So first and foremost, the injury record, specifically the hamstrings. Now, some people will say he's had like 1 or 2. He's like injuries overall. He's the hamstrings. We saw it with Mason Mount. We see it with Luke Shaw. We see it with all these players. The hamstrings, once they start to go, they don't really get any better. They just don't. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. Nuno Mendes has literally missed pretty much the entire 22-23 season with a hamstring issue. Literally missed the same number of matches in the last like 4, 5, 6 years as Mason Mount. Literally the same number of games missed as Mason Mount. So we can't sit here, in my opinion anyway, as United fans and complain about Mason Mount's injuries, Shaw's injuries, Martial, Phil Jones. We can't sit here and complain about all these players' injuries and then get all excited about a guy who's missed just as many games with the literal same issues. They're not going to get any better. And then in the position he plays, it is all running. It's only going to get worse. So my other issue is also, what does it say about a player who is only coming to United because he's not getting the money he wants at PSG? If PSG don't want to pay someone the money they want, and we do, again, are we not just repeating the same mistakes that we've done with other players in the past, where we only get them because we're willing to overpay for them and pay them too much? Bach says, Mendes is an interesting player. First saw him at Sporting Portugal. Not sure how much he's developed. So he was with Ruben Amorim. Remember, Amorim joined Sporting like November. of that first year. He played with him and then sent him on loan the next year. And then that was it, basically. But he was very young then. He was still only like 19, 20. Danny says, too expensive for his injury record, too. Yeah, I'm not. It's basically a carbon copy of the Mason Mount purchase, only for just a little less money. With the amount of money that it would cost to get Nuno Mendes from PSG, I can name you 6, 7 other wingbacks off the top of my head who would be that same amount, maybe a little bit more, or even less. Guys like Miguel Gutierrez, Fran Garcia, Alvaro Fernandez. You've got Dorgu still chilling out there. Leif Davis if Ipswich are struggling. Like, there are tons of them out there. Or Eight Nori if Wolves can't turn it around. I just don't want to spend the money on that for someone who's just never going to be fit. You miss a whole season with a hamstring issue, I worry a bit. Buck says, this new look PSG team, minus the mega names, do have a few gems, though. Neves, Kanjin Lee, Desiree Doué, Zaire Emery. Yeah, Barcola is good. I do like Kanjin Lee. We were linked with him a little while ago when he was still at Mallorca, I think is where he was. I do like him. I would have definitely liked him maybe in a swap for Rashford. I think Kanjin fits well in that inside number 10 role. But you guys let me know what you think about Nuno Mendes. I'm not as sold on that simply because of the injury record. But I was also felt the same way about De Ligt and Mazraoui. And so far, they're both doing pretty well. So there is a possibility. I don't want to roll that dice when it comes to the finances. And I know it's not my money, but it's so funny to me it's so funny sometimes the arguments you get in with people like football fans, because the goalposts keep moving. On one hand, people will tell you, they'll complain about the debt, they'll complain about PSR, they'll complain about owners and how we're not able to buy anything or how we don't want to spend money. But at the other end, they'll just complain about how much we pay for players and stuff. Like, you can't have it both ways. You have to be able to prioritize and things. It's just funny. Football fans are funny. Bach says Gutierrez Fernandez might be the better business at level. Yeah, Gutierrez has got a release clause of like $35 million, and it sounds like Girona would be willing to let him go for even less than that. That to me has Anthony swap written all over it. Go give him Anthony, let him do their thing, or Dallo, maybe not Dallo, maybe Malassi or something. But Gutierrez to me is probably one of the better options, and he's probably going to cost the same amount, if not less. I just think that there are better options out there. Then it says they have Gabriel Moscardo too, another wonder kid mid they have coming back from injury. Yeah, they've got a lot of decent players. It's going to be interesting to see if Luis Enrique sticks around. He does tend to kind of ruffle feathers with the squad a little bit. It's caused some problems everywhere he's been. I do like Luis Enrique a lot as a manager, but we'll see what happens with them. They have a lot of really good young players. It'll be up to them to see if they want to persist with that. They've got a lot. PSG seem to always want to buy midfielders. They've still got guys like Fabian Luiz running around in midfield. It's pretty funny. Bach says, true Danny, other Brazilian, Beraldo. Yep, they got all sorts of guys. Bach says, Olmo, Nipan, reasonable price, left wing back will be great January business. It would be great January business. It's just a question of funds. Are we going to have the money? I think we're going to see somebody sold in January for sure, and it probably will be a bigger name. Someone like your maybe your Dallo, maybe your Rashford, maybe even a Garnacho. We will see what happens there. Danny says, yeah, Moscardo is a gem. He is class. Yeah, I don't get to watch a whole lot of PSG because I think they're in beIN, right? I don't have beIN Sports, so I don't watch a ton. I don't really like watching the French league. If I did, it's just a one team league, but they do have some decent players floating around in that league. So moving on to keepers. So there's been a lot of talk about goalkeepers in recent weeks, most of it negative. Onana has been costly on a few occasions. Since he signed, he got a little better, and then he's had some big high-profile errors in the last month. Bayindir, in my opinion, has never looked United level. He was costly in our League Cup exit against Spurs after we really fought back to claw back a 3-0 down to a 3-2 defeat. But we've also seen a few promising keepers, in my opinion, deemed not good enough for United be moved on, and they're doing great things elsewhere. Mehdi Kovar has been excellent since he was excellent on loan at Prague, and he's doing really well at Leverkusen. Obviously, Leverkusen won the lot. Kovar was a big part of that last season. I would have liked to see him start for us. If David De Gea wasn't in the plans, I think I would have preferred to just stick with Mehdi Kovar, but it is what it is. We spent big on Onana, and the rest is history. Radek Vitek, too, is having a tremendous season in the Austrian league right now on loan. But there is a report now that United are looking at another young keeper, though, to bring in on the off chance that maybe Tom Heaton decides to retire or maybe Bayindir is sold. We know Bayindir is probably likely to get moved on. So Mike McGrath has claimed that United are interested in 22-year-old Royal Antwerp keeper Sen Lamens. He's Belgian, 6'4", absolute beast. He reports that United are seeking a long-term option in the goalkeeping department, and Lamens is apparently top of the list for that. He's got pretty good numbers in terms of a keeper. He is more of a traditional keeper. Think more like someone like a Peter Schmeichel than like a Andre Onana or like an Ederson. More old school and less, distribution kind of thing. His crosses stopped percentage is top 2 percentile. He's 73rd percentile for touches on the ball. He's in the top 10% for penalty saves, and he's in the top 5% for save percentage. He's got an 80.6% save percentage right now in the league. So in the last year, so he's actually a pretty good shot stopper. Whether or not that means he can't be improved in terms of the distribution or what, because institution numbers are not great, but it's like, what have I always said? I'd rather have you control your area, command your area, and stop shots. And this is what this guy does. He claims those crosses on set pieces. We know we've struggled. If a keeper wants to come out in the top 2% and claim those crosses, hey, more power to you, man. If you want to save pens, if you want to have a top 5% save percentage right now, do it. Those claim cross numbers are tremendous. His reflexes are superb. He's definitely more of a traditional keeper than a ball-playing one. Currently the 6th rated player in the Belgian league, and that's coming from SofaScore. So 6th rated player in the league, not just keeper, player. 3rd in that league right now for saves per 90 and 4th for goals prevented. So he's not bad at all, and he's very, very young. What do we say here? Let me see what you guys are saying on Lamens. Yep. Danny says VTech's better. Yeah, honestly, I'd probably just stick with VTech if it were me before I'd go and spend on another one. We have other keepers that we can bring in too, but I'd rather just stick with VTech. There's no need to keep spending money when we have the players. I just don't get it. Kovar, I think when he left, was older than David De Gea was when we brought David De Gea to the club. So it doesn't make sense to me why we keep spending money when we don't have to. Just go look at the kids, look at the youngsters we have on loan. VTech is doing just fine. He says, to be honest, I haven't compared their stats, just watched highlights of them. Yeah, I'm just looking at the percentiles right now on FBref, and he's definitely more of a traditional keeper, but you guys are going back here for PSG. Box says, I think Rashford would be great for all parties to exit early in January, avoid a saga. Yeah, well, not if the media have their way. You know it's a saga. Heck, the Sancho has been gone since the summer, and it's still a saga. Whenever he performs, that's all people write about because they're obsessed with United. It's hated, adored, never ignored, right? Danny says, we have the money. Ineos aren't broke. Look what Chelsea done. I'm not buying we are broke bollocks anymore, Sean. Well, Chelsea also, got a little, slap in the wrist for a lot of what they did. And they created rules after Chelsea did what they did to make sure no one else can do, which to me tells you it's not like they did things perfectly in any sense. I think that we spend a lot of time at United. You can argue that we use a lot of these rules as an excuse. You can argue that maybe we aren't creative enough. We aren't bold enough when it comes to really making statements on and off the pitch. Amorim said the other day in his presser, about like set pieces, how people are, you're doing a lot, it's in the rules, but people are doing more now. Maybe we need to start doing that. Yes, there are things that teams are doing, like look at Arsenal, look at what Wolves did, that aren't necessarily against the rules. Would they have been called as fouls probably 3, 4, 5 years ago? Probably. They're not anymore, though. So United have to get with this and start getting a little bit more savvy, a little bit more creative, a little bit more rule bending on and off the pitch when it comes. I'm not saying cheat. I'm not saying pull a city. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying there are ways to do this. And we need to do better and stop maybe hiding behind that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that's what we're doing. I'm saying that's a possibility that maybe we're using them as a convenient excuse. Whatever the deal is, we need to just start improving in that regard. Otherwise, we're just going to continue to be left behind. It's going to be very, very frustrating. Box said, Chelsea have sold well and they've reduced their wages significantly. You can guarantee Sancho won't be getting $300K there. Yeah, we don't. That's a big issue that people seem to forget PSR. Like, there are some content creators who will go on and say like net spend's not a thing. Well, PSR and FFP are literally, the foundation is based on net spend, how much you make from sales and getting wages off the books, and how much you buy and spend on that kind of. And you got to keep in mind too that manager wages and the cost of sacking a manager go into that. So when we sack Ten Hag and have to spend however much we had to do that, when we sack Ollie, when we sack all these people, that is plays into it as well. And we don't sell well. The last player this last summer was probably the best we've done in a long time in terms of player sales for profit. So we're clawing our way back into PSR's good graces. It's just not going to happen. And that has nothing to do with Ineos. And in fact, Ineos are the first owners in the last almost 20 years who have actually done well in the transfer market. Before Ineos, the last player we had from profit was maybe D. Henderson, Academy grad. So it is what it is. Before that, I think it was Dan James for a little bit. And then before that, it was Cristiano Ronaldo. Like, we're not good at selling players because we pay too much for them, we overpay them, and we can't move them on. This is what Ineos have stepped into. It's too easy for the press and the fans to start crying out that Ineos are villains. You guys, we have to stop believing every single tweet. We have to stop believing every single headline. I did some posts earlier about some of the stuff with the charity. I'm not going to go into it. You guys can read the tweets if you want, but I think we got to stop buying into the media's narrative that Ineos are some sort of evil villains. They're not. Some of the decisions they've made have not been great, right? Not good looks, but they're not that bad. So we got to read. People have to do the research, read the article, like the charity stuff. I'm literally, another tab I have open right now is literally the .gov.uk's registry of charities. I'm looking at all about this association of former Manchester United players, and it's not what the press are wanting you to believe. Danny says, Forrest done it. Look at him now. From relegation to compete. Didn't Forrest get punished, though, too? But wouldn't they get in trouble for it? I think that the sort of players that Forrest are going to buy compared to the sort of players that United are going to buy, Forrest are also going to probably make some decent sales as well. I haven't looked too deeply in their ins and outs over the last year or so, but I know they brought in like a ton of players a couple of years ago. I don't know how they did that, but they also ran afoul of PSR as well. And they have injuries. And that's the thing with teams like Forest and Fulham, is they don't have the depth. I think that they really pushed hard out the gate, and they're doing well, fair play to them, but we'll see in the second half of the season if they can sustain. Ruddick, what does that mean? But welcome / how are you, my friend? Bach says Abraham, Shalaba, Tomore, Gay, Mount, Gallagher, Loftus-Cheek, Hall, Matson, Livramento got significant fees, pure profit. Yeah, they do pretty well, Chelsea. They just, we need to. The hard part too is, and we see, this is a funny thing. Everybody wants money. Everyone wants success. It's so funny how some content creators are literally have spent the last 3 or 4 days doing nothing but content, throwing temper tantrums, basically baby tantrums about not having Qatari owners and Ineos in this. Like, they think money is just going to solve everything. Ineos had a lot of shit to deal with when they came in. They had to do a whole audit. Tons and tons of departments throughout the club were deemed not fit for purpose. The Glazers, Woodward and co. did a horrible job. They did not take care of things. They just wanted to spend, wanted to take money. They wanted to make stupid decisions. Now Ineos have to come in and clean that up. It's like if you spent your whole life accruing nothing but credit card debt and not fixing your car, not fixing anything, and then you get married, and now your spouse has to basically pay for your student loans, pay for your credit card, pay to fix the car, pay to fix the house that you not once touched. They inherit all your debt. That's basically the equivalent of what Ineos have done, man. Amount to, yeah. Chelsea robbed us. Leicester robbed us. A lot of people robbed us when it comes to these things. You can argue Real Madrid robbed us as well. It's freaking rough. Bandomac jumping in. Good to see you, Bandomac. Welcome back. We are just getting through some transfer news now. Talked a little bit about new keeper potentially joining us. Talked a little bit about Nuno Mendes. We are now looking at a little bit of the attacking. So United could be already set to maybe lose one summer signing, and that name is Joshua Zirkzee. So sticking with Mike McGrath, he claims that Juventus want a striker in January and are willing to offer Joshua Zirkzee an escape route out of Manchester United. He goes on to claim as well that United might be ready to listen to offers for Zirkzee. Thiago Motta is now Juventus manager. He managed Zirkzee at Bologna and had him on 12 goals, 6 assists in just 37 matches last season. So basically a goal involvement nearly every other match. Could they be reunited? Could Zirkzee join him at Juventus? I don't know what he thinks he's going to do at Juventus. They've got Vlahovic. I don't see how he's going to play there. He's not getting in over guys like Yildiz or anything. I don't know what's been the issue with Zirkzee. He had some decent numbers for a young striker at Bologna and a team that did well last year, but obviously not one of the big hitters. Is he still getting used to the Premier League? Bologna isn't United after all. The Premier League is not Serie A. It's very different. Are we just not able to get the most out of him? 2 managers now have had Zirkzee, and he's not really done it. Is it like 2 managers can't both have the same struggles with him, right? Or is the problem just bigger than Zirkzee? Is it just he's not the only United player who's struggling right now? Is it just there's more going on? You guys let me know what you think in terms of that kind of what Joshua Zirkzee, some of these rumors. Bandomax has been avoiding YouTube, couldn't face all the doom and gloom after the Wolves game. Yeah, there was quite a bit of it. I try not to do my match reactions same day if possible. Sometimes I will, just depending on schedule, but I try not to because of the doom and gloom, because I don't want to just sit here and throw a temper tantrum. I'd rather just take a second, watch the match again, look at it from a different angle, maybe a little dispassionately, and just go on for that. I'm still annoyed with the Wolves game, honestly, but it's a lot better than it was. Bach says, I like the reset Ineos are doing in terms of ridding United of being a soft touch in business transfer negotiations. Yeah, I mean, they are trying. I think it was always going to be a big ask the first transfer window. There's a lot to go through. Obviously, they know we need players. Some of the transfer business didn't happen very fast because we didn't get guys like Barada and Ashworth in until July. Ineos really didn't start doing anything until July. But ahead of that, Ineos, in terms of like Brailsford and stuff, we're doing the audit because the transfer window wasn't here yet. There's a lot to fix at this club. It's impossible to just focus on one area. But that's why there's a team. We have to delegate that, and hopefully, we have people who are good at their jobs who can do that. And if you're not, then you're going to get tossed aside, like Dan Ashworth found out, like Rashford's finding out. Danny B says, take the money we paid for him. I mean, we didn't pay much for Zirkzee, and thankfully, again, it's just because it says we paid this much. So we had a release clause. We paid a little bit more. That's because with the release clause, you have to pay the whole thing. With you just paying a fee, you get to amortize that. We didn't pay 30 some odd million for him up front. We paid a little bit up front, and we'll pay that over the next couple of years. So we have to keep that in mind as well. Bach says, Juve have fallen off. Yeah, I think Thiago Motta, he's still a young manager, so he's learning a hard lesson. It's a teachable season for him. But there's not many players at Juve that I would take. Maybe like Locatelli. I don't really honestly think too much of Vlahovic. He's not a bad striker. He's just, since he left Fiorentina, I just haven't been super impressed by Vlahovic. But that's just me. But we're going to move on to the match. So let's talk a little bit about Newcastle to start. You guys, don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new in the chat, please. So on Newcastle, we'll start with Danny. We'll wrap up with Danny's comment real quick before we get going here. If Ineos don't have 1 or 2 signed within the first week, 10 days in January, they're just the same as the Glazers. They need to do something. They can't back Amorim with dropping Rashford for this long, for basically saying, Rashford, you're not part of the plan. You can't do that without also having some sort of replacement. It's not, I know I said addition by subtraction, but it's not just like we're not a club stacked with talent and we can afford to do that. The quality in the squad is so poor, and we've got Louis van Gaal signing still at this club. It's got to be like, it's addition by subtraction, but it also has to be like, you remember that scene from Indiana Jones where he's going into the temple and there's that little idol and he has to replace it with a bag of sand. So the pressure, we can't just leave an empty spot because we need quality. And not only that, you can't bring in a manager mid-season who you talked to already in the spring and summer, who you went out and brought in after you sacked a manager that you backed in Ten Hag. has a whole new system, requires completely different player profiles, and then not do anything to help him. Unless you're just writing off the whole season, but you can't not strengthen. You can't write off the season because we are flirting in that relegation zone. Now, I don't think we will be relegated, but we are flirting with it. And if Ineos do care about, helping the debts and stuff, then it's in their best interest to try to finish as high up the table as they can to get some of that TV money that you're going to get, some of the money you get for finishing higher up the table. That's an opportunity. You'll get more money for finishing in like the top 7 in the Premier League than you will for like winning the Champions League. It's just the way it is. We need to try to make that happen. Danny says, yeah, 100. Sometimes I maybe land on a nugget of logic in my rambling. I rely on you guys to let me know. Most of the time I'm just kind of stream of consciousness out here. Box says, probably the best, most confident Newcastle have looked since the end of the 22-23 season. Danny's predicting an Isak hat trick. Yeah, it has the potential to be rough. I'm surprised that Eddie Howe is still there because it has been a little hard going. After some struggles earlier this season, Newcastle have made a bit of a comeback. They've got 4 wins on the bounce in all competitions right now. Before their run of drop points, they managed a 3-3 draw to Liverpool, a 1-0 victory over Arsenal, and they did knock Chelsea out of the League Cup. They can get at you. They're very aggressive. They're very energetic. They're very physical. They're very intense. Pretty much all the things United isn't, and all the things that cause us problems, no matter who we play. If you just show up and you're just a 10% more physical than us, which isn't hard to do, you're going to get a result. What's also going to cause us problems, though, is this 4-5-1 shape they have off the ball. Hold on a second. It's not a fun shape. Let me bring it up on the screen for you so you guys can see what I'm talking about here. So off the ball, this is what Newcastle like to do. They like to make themselves compact, make themselves difficult to get through, and then they're going to use that physicality, that intensity, and those numbers to win the ball in midfield and immediately launch a counterattack. You can see Gordon and Murphy, the wide players, are dropping back, but they're also very quickly going to get forward on the transition. Isak, they'll utilize Isak's movement. You can see Liverpool didn't set up great in this shot right here, right? They're setting up basically with Isak nothing but space to run into. They're going to use those numbers to win the ball, launch the attack. Isak's movement's going to cause problem. His ability, he's so good at playing off the shoulder of defenders. And then you've got these runs from the wide players too as well that can hurt the opposition as well. They simply look to win the ball, get it forward as soon as possible, and they're good at it. I mean, you can't argue that they're not good at it. It's causing a lot of big teams a lot of problems right now. In their last 4 matches, they've scored 14 goals. They've conceded just 1 against Brentford in the League Cup. Fortunately for us, only 5 of their 30 goals scored this entire season have been from set pieces. So, yay. So you're telling me there's a chance, right? No, I'm not telling you there's a chance at all. Unfortunately for us, Isak +1 is the majority. He's got 11 goals. He's got 4 assists in just 16 matches in the league. Like, he's doing the dirty. They could be without Trippier and Livramento, so their right back could be a little weakened. Matt Target's a little rusty. It's not his natural position. We could exploit that if if we start Ahmad on the left this time or something, maybe we could exploit that or something. I don't know. But they just have too many. They're too good at making themselves hard to break down, and they're too physical. They're too intense for us. I mean, we saw them get results against some bigger sides. So I can't back us on this. Let me see what you guys see. Danny B says, he saved my fantasy season, Isak, him and Cunha. Box says, I watched the 3-3 games versus Liverpool. They were quite impressive. Yeah, they set up very, very well. We can't try to move the ball through midfield. We're not going to have Bruno. We're not going to have Ugarte. We have to get the ball wide. We have to get it forward. We have to move it quickly to have a chance. Avoid all United players in FPL, sadly. Danny says, I made a mistake of bringing Bruno back in because I saw Saka was injured. Yeah. Danny B says, Garnacho needs to watch how hard Gordon works off the ball and take note of it. Is Gordon done with his diving? I know he was getting done he was pulling an Ashley Young for a while there and just diving left and right. But how do we make sure we don't get completely turned over? Again, no Bruno, no Ugarte. So that's fun. I do have let me put my starting 11. So I have a starting 10. I don't have a starting 11. I'm going to need your guys' help real quick to put in who I'd like to see us, how I'd like to see us line up in this one. So this is kind of where I'm going with right at this moment. What do you, the last position, the left wing back, I have no idea what I want to do there. I really don't. You can see I put Johnny Evans back in. I think we need a little bit of, nous in that back line. I think he has that experience. He's shown that on his day, he can be probably one of our best players. And he has a reading of the game that comes from experience. We can push De Ligt to the right, I think. I know I keep saying I'd like to see Mazraoui get a rest. I'd like to see Mazraoui get a rest. I don't know how he does. This midfield is going to be a nightmare for us. Even with Bruno and Ugarte, the 4-5-1 that they play with, the physicality that they have there, the numbers we're going to give us a hard time, even with those two. So I don't know how we're going to do it without them. I think Mainu has been rough, but we don't have any other options. We just don't. Would you put Eriksen in midfield next to Casemiro maybe and swap him with Mainu up front? Mainu's never played as a 10, so I don't know about that. Maybe would you bring Rashford back in and put him up front? Would you put Xerxes in? So Bach says, I didn't realize Dubravka's back and goal. Oh, is he? Interesting. Danny says 3-4-1-2, pack the midfield. That was another option that I had, Danny. I actually opted maybe to go with like a 3-5-2 and just kind of match some numbers for some solidity, but we don't play a 3-5-2 or thing like that. We could have put maybe Garnacho and Højlund up front, maybe put Casemiro, Eriksen, and Mainu maybe in midfield, and maybe just could have, just through sheer numbers, just an extra body in that deeper position. Maybe we could have, and then got the ball wide. I don't know. Amorim doesn't play that. Danny, I like a 3-5-2. I have no problem with it. I just don't know if we're gonna do that. And he says we have to. We will this weekend. We have to. We'll see. If Danny, if that happens, I guarantee you, if that happens, the press are going to be all over it. They're going to say, "Oh, he's abandoned his principles. He's doing a 3-5-2. That didn't take long." The stories are going to come out. We know that the stories are going to come out. It's United. That's just the way it is. The thing is that people need to not believe it. People buy way too much into tweets and headlines, and they can't complain. As fans, we cannot sit here for years and complain about the agenda. We can't have this phrase of hated, adored, never ignored, and then turn around and believe every single headline and every single tweet that comes from some random journo in the world. Again, we can't have it both ways. We want to sit here and play the victim when the press are harsh on us and when Samuel Butthurst is writing bullshit, but then turn around and say, Sir Jim, he's a rat. Like, you can't do it. You're literally, the same source that you criticize is the same source you're believing with this other information. It's ridiculous. Bach says Casemiro's cameo versus Wolf, he played some decent forward balls. Casemiro's got a good pass on him when he looks where he's passing it. When it's these no-look, like, random passes across midfield from Casemiro that bother me. He does that all the time. It usually goes right to an opposition player, and it causes us problems. He needs to just get a scan before you receive the ball so you know what's going on around you. You don't have Modric and Kroos next to you. You've been here 3 years. Stop imagining that you've got Kroos and Modric chilling. Like, you're not going to get that at United. Then he says, same shape, Xerxes and Højlund. So, yeah, who would you guys play in the left wing back? You guys let me know. Danny's going Euro, De Ligt, Maz, Ahmad, Dallo, Casemiro, Collier. So you're throwing Collier up there, and you're throwing Eriksen, Højlund, and Xerxes. It's a big ask for Eriksen. I struggled with the left wing back. As you can see, I didn't even put one in there. Where Newcastle, where we could get them is there, and where they have struggled is due to their lack of depth, like we talked about earlier. They can't maintain that intensity for 90 minutes. They just don't have a whole squad that can match the starting 11's energy. We saw it against Liverpool when they had to start making changes. They slowed down a little bit. There's a chance we can do that if we can hold out, if we can keep them away from winning corners. We need to resist the urge to move the ball through the midfield. We need to play around it, and we need to play forward. The problem is, so you've seen, I put up that pass map against Wolves and how shit it was, but what you saw is we do move the ball around. I'm going to take this off the screen now so I can see you a little better. We do move the ball in that horseshoe shape. We need to get it forward more. It's just not we're not going to do anything if we don't put the ball into the final third. We're just not. Højlund's isolated. You saw in the pass map that he literally was not receiving any passes from anyone. 14 touches for your striker. What is your striker supposed to do? You could put Osimhen, you could put Gyökeres in that same team against Wolves, and I guarantee you it would have been no different. It's just striker's not going to solve the problems. It's just the players have to move the ball better. We need better players. We weren't winning our duels. We weren't dribbling the ball. We weren't moving the ball at all. We were too sloppy, and we've been like that now for a couple weeks. We keep sitting in the back five. If you watched against Spurs, started against Spurs in the League Cup, we had Dalot and Mazraoui sitting basically and making a line of five, and we're just sitting back too deep. What this means is we're not getting numbers forward when we want to attack. What are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to find our players in the opposition third when half the team is sitting in the back? Liverpool caused Newcastle problems when they move their fullbacks higher up the pitch. We need our wingbacks to get more involved in attack. We have three defenders sitting in center defense, and we have that option for one of our midfielders to drop back and help out. We don't need our wingbacks to sit back that deep. We just don't. If three center backs can't handle one Isak, then that's a problem. That means the center backs are shit. I'm not saying Isak is bad or anything. He's a great striker. I love him at United. I think he suits our system very well. It's just we have to be able to get forward. It just is what it is. What are we saying over here? Danny would play Malacia instead of Dalot. I mean, there's a chance. Malacia was not included in the squad at all against Wolves, which Samuel Butthurst likes to remind everybody. Bach says, could Anthony play there? Anthony might. I had him and then I took him off because I just don't know. I just don't know about Anthony. There's not many options when you look at it. Bach says, I'd start Collier as well. Collier, I mean, we could see him maybe. Danny says, fuck it, play Dangor instead of Eriksen. We need three engines in mid. Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of options, honestly. Danny says Malacia over Dalot. An argument could be made for Malacia as well. I think that I personally, in an ideal situation right now, I'd like us to be in a place where we can give Mazraoui and Dalot a rest. They've both literally played almost every single game, and you can tell that it's wearing on them. Even Mazraoui, who has been just a solid technical player for us, is making sloppy mistakes. He's looked tired. He looks gassed, giving away sloppy fouls, and that's the sign that you're just getting run ragged. Could play Maz in mid, start Licha. You want to put Licha in midfield? I mean, maybe he's got the passing range, but even Licha just doesn't want to make that pass. He made that one ball that found Ahmad right against City, but he doesn't. We don't play those balls quick enough. We're not quite dialed in with the attackers and everyone else behind them when it comes to just getting the timing down. We watched against Wolves. Højlund's having to check, recheck. He's trying to make runs, and we're just not moving the ball quickly. It's getting really annoying. Jenny says, drop Eriksen. I mean, we don't have options. Bruno and Ugarte are already gone. It doesn't leave us with much. Manu is still struggling. Casemiro is rusty. And so they together right now, they probably make one player altogether. The options are very, very limited. We could use a McTominay right about now, right? Bandomax says, yeah, every time there was a crossfield pass to Dalot, he would stop and pass it backwards. Yeah, exactly. You could bring up the pass map again. Go to Opta Analyst, look at that pass map. I showed it after the match. The passes, the most commonly pass played were like the wing backs back to the center backs. It's like Jack Grealish settings, man. It's just stop, pass it back, pass it back. The only difference is, I guess, no kids are cutting their hair like Diogo Dalot, apparently, but that's what makes you worth 100 mil, according to City fans. Sorry, Bibo. But again, that Bandomac is because of a lack of confidence. Dalot is not good in one-on-one situations, whether he's on the ball or he's defending. He doesn't do it. He takes too many touches. He gets the ball and he looks like a deer in headlights. He looks like he has no confidence in himself. Whether that's just because he's not good, maybe it's because when he's closer to his own goal, he's a little bit more nervous. We've seen him in the final third when he's got the ball, step overs, all sorts of shit. But in his own, maybe it's just he's getting into his own head a little bit. I don't understand. Danny says, Anthony, I can't anymore. I think a lot of us are there. if you guys have been following the channel for a while, you know I gave Anthony like the first year. I gave him the second year. I'm done with Anthony. He's nowhere near what he was at Ajax. It's clearly he's a confidence player, and he's been found out. He's realized he can't just get away with random shit in the Premier League. No one's going to let him do it anymore. Bach says, it's like we're shuffling through the options and we've got back to using Anthony again. Exactly. This is where we're at. When we go through the options at left back against Newcastle and we're like, I guess we're just going to have to go with Anthony. Like, come on. Who has to deal with this shit? Danny says Maz in mid. I mean, this is where we're at. We're putting Mizraoui in midfield, man. I don't know what to do. Licha, Delit, Yoro. Yoro, to me, is another one who, like Garnacho, like Mainu, he should, and even Højlund to an extent. Højlund, we have no choice because he's the only striker we have. But Yoro should probably not play every single match. Obviously, he was injured for a while. He's still very, very young, though. And we've seen he's got his positioning and stuff. This is going to come. He's probably like 7-8 years away from prime age for center backs, but Yoro needs to rotate. The problem is we don't have the options. Maguire can't play that many games in a row. Delit, I don't even know if Delit's going to be fit because he was sick. But Dallo says, Danny says Dallo is finished. I almost called you Dallo for Danny. Sorry, bud. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Bexy, welcome to the channel. Good to see a new face. Premier League is a different beast. It is absolutely a different beast. It is different in a lot of ways. We've seen just the calls, the refereeing, the tactics. It's always hard because it is a different beast for a lot of reasons. It's hard though when when the teams and the managers are changing so much. It's almost like, well, at what point is the Premier League the league, or is it the managers and players at a club? Like, what makes the Premier League on like that macro level? Because if you took like half the managers from like La Liga and brought them over the Premier League, is it half La Liga, half Premier League? If they're starting to play their tactics and get their kind of players, like, it's so weird how different leagues are seen as different. I think over time and as football changes and as managers and players change and stuff, it does go back and forth. But I think that if you're talking about Xerxes, for instance, I think his biggest asset was the Bologna and being with Thiago Motta, and that system was really centered around him and working with his strengths. And again, kind of like Mbappe going to Real Madrid, that's not the way it is anymore. You've got to learn to be more of a part of a team and maybe challenge yourself to grow and develop in different aspects of your game. And if you're not doing that, you're going to get found out pretty quickly, because the Premier League, you're not going to get, coddled by the refs unless you're, Wolves, apparently. And the refs aren't going to call every little bit of contact and whatnot. It's just interesting. I don't watch as much Serie A as I used to. So if you're talking about the Italian league, that's why I don't watch really any French league, because I just don't get the access to it. Bach says, it's crazy that Luton and Sheffield United were getting more money than 5th, 6th teams in La Liga and Serie A. That's because of the TV money, Box. It's insane. This is why Premier League clubs in general get charged more for players. This is why managers, players will come to the Premier League, because they'll get more. And this is like, it boggles my mind sometimes when I see like João Palhinha leaving Sporting to come to Fulham, because you'll get money here. Like, why did Ruben Amorim left Champions League football to come to United in the Europa League, who are struggling and were shit? Not saying he did it for money, but he will get paid more here than he will in Sporting. It is what it is. The TV money is insane. It's constantly getting switched around. Amazon's paying money for stuff. Obviously, NBC and whatnot. I don't know what it's played on in the UK, but I'll try to figure it out. What's weird to me, and I don't know, Danny, tell me if this is what it was like in Ireland too. So in America, right, Danny, you've been in both worlds. You've been in Ireland, you've been in America for a while. You can't go to a restaurant in America without there being like 24 televisions and like 8 different sporting events going on. If I want to go watch a sporting event, I just go down the road to like a bar or something, and it's there. It's not like that in the UK. I was in Manchester, and Justin and I were kind of out and about, and it was not a United match day, but it was Premier League match day, and we had the hardest time finding a place maybe to go get some lunch, but then also watch some of these Premier League games while we were there. You guys don't really have those over there. It was a little different. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying this is different. Like, Here, it's just like if I want to go watch something and I'm out, I can close my eyes, throw a rock, and hit a place that I can go do that at. Bexa says, United need athletic midfielders. Manu needs to be pushed up the pitch. United need an athletic midfielder Ugarte level. We do need some athletic midfielders for sure. I think I could see pushing Manu up to a 10 on a one-off. It's hard because he doesn't play there. And so what I don't want is for him to do that and have a decent match and then everyone say, leave him there. We don't need to buy anything. Manu is still young. We're still trying to figure out, and not only is he young and he's in like his second full season, and really he's only been playing for like a year because he was injured for most of the first season under Ten Hag last year. He's also a young player who's had to go through 2 managers right off the bat. It's going to be hard. And so not only that, but you add the inconsistency of young players into that mix as well. And we got to be patient. We'll see what happens. I really couldn't tell you how we're going to line up. We're missing 2 midfielders. Danny says Ederson or João Gomez. If Wolves are relegated and we don't like swoop for a couple players or at least one player of the 3 of Aït-Nouri, Cunha, or João Gomez, I will lose my mind. That has good business written all over it, man. There are players from Southampton that you can go look at. There are players from Ipswich you can go look at that improve this team. Like, it's not hard. It's not rocket science. Bach says, I remember Weghorst was doing well with Wolfsburg and they got top 4 Champions League and they sold him to newly promoted Burnley. Yeah, and he came to us and did not score a single goal in the league. I saw him score when I was there for the Real Betis match, so I do have that as a souvenir. Danny says, same in Ireland pretty much. Yeah, so yeah, it's funny. I'm not complaining again, like I get it. It's just funny. Danny says Amorim 10 needs speed legs. Yeah, we need to go get Nipan. We could throw him in that midfield, or we can play him in a 10. We need to go get Cherke, capitalize on Leon's financial shit show, get him to come in and play in one of those 10s, or even on the left-hand side if we feel like it. Box says a rare Veg goal. Yeah, Justin, that was the first match. We flew in. That match was it was like an 8 o'clock kickoff. It was a Europa League match. I think we won like 4-1. The snow was ridiculous that first night, man. Horizontal, thick snow. If you guys remember the match on TV, you could see it, but it was a good time. That was a good match. So what else can we do to give ourselves half a chance? Let's see. Oh, maybe stop being shit. You like that tactical analysis? How's that for tactical analysis? Honestly, though, just a little bit of a fight, just a little fight and a little effort is all I ask from these players. Is it too much to ask? It might seem like it's too much to ask right now from this squad because they just haven't shown us. I told you guys the duels. Cunha alone had 13 duels won. The best player on our team to win duels was Ugarte, and he had 7. Like, 0 fight whatsoever. It's the same as the Forest game when we were just losing our individual battles left and right. That shows a lack of mentality. That's all you need to look at. Win your duels, move the ball quickly, clear the danger when it comes in your box. I swear to God, if we concede another goal from a corner, I will Cantona kick my television. I mean it. My wife's out of town. I can get a brand new TV before she gets back. She'll never know unless she watches this, in which case, I'm just kidding. I kid. But seriously, though, I'll do it. Like the video if you guys want to see me Cantona kick my TV if we concede a set-piece goal. If we concede another Olympico, I'm just going to throw my TV into the middle of the road. Like, that's annoying. That's freaking... How many Olympico... I asked this after the match. How many Olympicos are scored in football, like, generally in a yearly basis? Like, it's maybe like one every couple of years. We've conceded 2 Olympicos on corners in like 2 weeks. Only at United will we do this, man. This is ridiculous. Baxi says the Wolves' main guys are better than Rashford, Xerxes, Garnacho for now. How did that happen? Well, it's not hard. Literally, all you have to do is show up and put in half of an effort, and you're going to be better than all 3 of those. Garnacho is young, so we give him a little bit of a pass, but he's running out of years to mature, and I'm not talking about just on the pitch. Rashford clearly wants this change of scenery. He's just not happy when things aren't going his way, it seems like. And Xerxes, I just don't think is good enough. But it is what it is. Danny says, I like Yilmaz, cheap, not a fancy player, but great work rate, could play in a right wing back Amorim system. Yeah, Boris Yilmaz at Galatasaray. You guys remember I did that scouting report on him a few weeks ago. Could be a great wingback option. I really like him a lot. Pandomax says, make sure you film it. Oh, it'll get filmed if it happens. They'll be making silhouettes and socks and sweaters out of me kicking my TV before long. Then he says, Chirke, Nipan, Mastantuono, Kirkes, Yarrick, or Bashali. Yeah, Yarrick and Bashali free in the summer. You could lose 3 center backs, bring in those 2. Bashali could instantly start challenging Licha for that left spot. He's like 26, 27 now. PSV Eindhoven, we did a scouting report on him a couple weeks ago as well. Yarrick, same issue, young, 19 years old, left-sided, plays for Valencia, good center back. If we don't do anything in January, like Ineos are going to have the highest level of scrutiny possible. You have to get every decision spot on, and they've made some bad ones. I'm not going to lie, they made some bad ones. But they have made some decent ones, it's fine. But right now they're cleaning up the mess, and they're going to make unpopular decisions. I'm not excusing everything, but some of the decisions are going to be unpopular. It's not about right and wrong. It's about what just needs to be done. Sometimes you have to make decisions that aren't going to be like go over well, but you have to do it for the betterment of the organization. As a business owner myself, I totally get it. I have to make decisions. I can't look at each person's preferences and what's going to benefit them. I have to look at what's going to benefit everybody by benefiting the business. It just is what it is. It's not fun. I don't relish that. It's part of being a leader, though. You have to do that. Buck says, you think teams will target Olympicos versus us? Teams are definitely going to look to get at us on set pieces, not only because they've seen that we don't attack the ball, we're not good in the air, we set up in a shit zonal marking system, but they also see that Onana is just shit as a keeper in that aspect of goalkeeping. He doesn't come off his line. He's not good in the air. He's a little too fragile, and he's just not great at that. He got a little better at shot stopping. He's comfortable on the ball. He still takes too many risks, in my opinion, but he's comfortable on the ball. But that we got to do better than that. Danny says, Cunha, João Gomez are a must if Wolves go down. Here's the thing. If Wolves go down, a lot of these players are going to have relegation clauses in their contracts. Xherdan Shaqiri, when Stoke got relegated, had a relegation clause. He left. If they go down, you need to be ready to go. You need to already have a plan of attack in motion, contacting agents, getting the budget ready. If something like that happens, we need to already be prepared to pounce right away. Here's the wages. Let's get it done. You want a player? Who do you want? You want all these players? Take them all. Bach says, I only remember one in my entire time watching United versus Bournemouth. I think it was Stanislas versus De Gea. Yeah, we've been, and that's the thing too. It's just we've been shit at set pieces for years. It just is what it is. But the problem is our keepers have not been great keepers when it comes to commanding their box. De Gea, just as bad as Onana when it comes to coming out and claiming those things. And that's the thing, man. Bexy says, when United put a run together, we've yet to string together 2 wins in the league on the bounce all season. We just haven't put together 2 wins in a row in the league. So I doubt the runs are going to happen. When we got to play Newcastle and then Liverpool and then Arsenal in the FA Cup, I doubt that we're going to see a run for them. I'm hoping that when I'm there in a couple weeks and we play Southampton and we play Brighton, that maybe those can be hits for us. Brighton, I'm not totally 100% sure on. Southampton, we should be beating. We beat them 3-0 earlier in the season. You guys remember I did that watch along. We should be doing more. But again, it's not just about the competition. I have to look at what I see from United, and what I see does not fill me with confidence whatsoever. If you guys are confident in the squad and what you've seen, you guys let me know. Bexy says, Cunha is a beast. Very impressed. Cunha is a very good player. We were linked with him. I really liked him when he was at Atletico Madrid. I worried a little bit about his attitude following that Ipswich game. He should have been banned. I don't know why he got to play against us. He should have been banned. That one match against Ipswich was a while ago. He should not have been allowed to play. I'm really annoyed by that. Bandomax says, heard Nipan favors United as he is a United fan. Yeah, he should be in the door January 1st. He should be training January 1st. We should have, honest to God, we should have locked that deal up in the summer. loan him back to Rosenborg for the season, because their season ended at the beginning of December, and he could already be here. Like, this is the kind of shit I'm talking about. You have to think outside the box in the transfer window, and we just don't. Like, any one of you could probably show up to United, take over as director of football, and do 110 times better than what we've seen from United over the years. Bexy says, how many signings will United make in January realistic? Maybe one, but I think a lot of it's going to have to do on if anybody leaves. I think it's a combination of we don't have a whole lot of money to work with because of this PSR situation. And I think the other half of that is Ineos are not going to be quick to spend like the Glazers might be have. Well, I would say the Glazers have, but we didn't. We lost a striker, 2 midfielders one November a couple years ago, and we got Weghorst and Sabitzer in on a loan. So this is what you get at United. You don't get to go and get a blank checkbook like you do at City. You don't get that. But you let me know, Bexy, how many signings you think we will do and what do you think will happen. Danny says, yeah, Bandamek, I think Kirkes does too. Yeah, we did that story on Kirkes. He's got family connections to United. I think Kirkes seems tailor-made for the system, seems tailor-made for Ruben Amorim. Ruben Amorim likes those young players. I think Kirkes could be good. It's just a matter on how Bournemouth finish and what happens, because if they keep doing well, I could easily see Iraola leaving. I could easily see Iraola taking over for Pep at City. City need a whole refresh, and not just a continuation of what they've been doing. They have a lot of older players. Pep looks like he can't handle a rebuild. I think they need to just start over again at City, and I think Iraola could be the guy to do that for him. But you guys let me know what you think. This ain't a City channel, but it probably could be if we're the only people around talking about City. Bach says, Liverpool picked up a few relegated players, Robertson, Wijnaldum, Shaqiri. Yeah, I loved Robertson when he was at Hull. I really wish we would have gotten, what did they pay for him, like $3 million? Like, it's a no-brainer, that kind of stuff. We just don't do enough of it. We wait until they go on, until somebody else buys him, like Harry Maguire. Should have got him when he was at Hull. He goes to Leicester, and we probably paid about 8 times more than we would have. This is what we do, man. I guarantee you, like guys like Woodward and the Glazers, they want to be seen to be spending the money that we could have spent. They want to spend the money because it makes us look like we're rich. This is why we're in the situation that we're in. We spent lavishly on perks and players and wages to just look like we're a big club. They wanted to pretend to be a big club without actually. They put all this glossy wrapping paper on an empty box. That's what they did for 18 years. Then he says, Liverpool grabbed Will from Newcastle when they went down. Gigi Wijnaldum was such a good player. I forget where he's at. He went to PSG. I don't know where he is now, but Wijnaldum was a thing. I watched the match. It was Newcastle versus Norwich years and years and years ago when he was still. And he put on a clinic against Norwich. It was insane. Box says, Musa Sissoko for Tottenham was quite good. Relegated pickup as well. Yeah. Colton Connor, we got a Newcastle fan in here. Welcome, man. See you Monday, United. Yeah. How about go easy on us, man? Just keep it respectable, the scoreline, please. Some people in here are already predicting an Isak hat trick. But again, we need to move the ball quickly. Don't try to dribble through midfield because it's not going to happen. Get it wide, get it forward, and move it quickly. Win our duels, like ground duels, aerial duels. Clear the danger. I don't want to kick my TV. I will. I can buy a new one. Danny asked the other day. Danny, you asked, I think it was yesterday. You had asked about Ruben Amorim's record, set piece goals conceded record at Sporting, and I looked it up a little bit earlier. So under Ruben Amorim, Sporting conceded the following amount of set piece goals. So in his first season, they only conceded 4, and it was the 4th best in the Portuguese league. Second season, 21-22, they conceded 3 goals from set pieces, which was the best in their league. 22-23 season, again, 4 goals conceded, 4th best. Now, something happened last season at Sporting. I don't know what, but they literally conceded 11 goals from set pieces last season, which was the 8th worst in the league. So nothing changed in terms of coaching staff or anything. I couldn't tell you what I looked up transfers in and out. They lost guys like, Pedro Porro and whatnot. But Pedro Porro wasn't winning a whole lot of headers and stuff. So it was just like, what happened? I couldn't tell you what happened, but they went from 4 goals conceded from set pieces, 3 goals conceded from set pieces. So they literally went they in one season they equaled their amount of set piece goals conceded from the previous 3 seasons combined. So interesting what happened there. But it's very weird. I wish I could tell you what I saw there. I just don't. So Brighton grabbed João Pedro when Watford went down. That was smart. Didn't Brighton? Who grabbed that Sarr kid? Who grabbed? Was that West Ham or Villa that grabbed Ismail Sarr? I can't remember. Box says exactly, simple but effective buys. Yeah, I mean, you guys know that I'm not a huge proponent of the whole Premier League proven phrase. I don't. It's not that I don't think there's value in buying from the Premier League. I just think that A, you're going to pay more, and B, we've seen players come from other teams, other clubs in Europe, and do just fine, like Bruno or Mazraoui, for instance. And I think that there's value, though. I think there's something to be said for, again, and I've said many times, if there are teams that are relegated, teams are struggling, who might need some financial help, you need to go look at some of those players in the Premier League, because it is a factor. I'm not saying it's the only factor to look at, though. Then he says Kirke's would be expensive. It's all about priorities and who we can sell. We need to prioritize what the most important positions are on the pitch that we need to strengthen, and we need to go all out for them and get a little creative with the other ones, because what do we need more? We need defense. Do we need midfield? Do we need creativity? Do we need goals? I think the wingback, the left side, has been barren for years, so that might be a priority, but it is what it is, man. You guys let me know what you think we should prioritize. Box says, yep, on transfer market, Kirke's deal ends 2028. Last month, they didn't have any details of when it ended. Yeah, for the longest time, if you looked at like transfer market and Capology, it said his deal was up in this summer, so they must have extended it. Bexy says, I think United have to do 3. I think United will do it as well. To be fair to Ineos, they can be savvy. I like left back, 2 midfielders. United will sell in January as well. Hopefully, we need to sell, sounds like. I think with Ineos, I think there's a difference between being like creative and savvy and being cheap and like just waiting too long to pull the trigger. You can't wait too long in the summer to bring in your summer signings, because they need a preseason with your manager. We saw that under Ten Hag time and time again. He got players, but he didn't get them until August. We saw it this summer. We saw it when he first got here. We wait too long to buy players. I couldn't tell you why. Maybe we need to raise the funds. Maybe we want to go as long as we can without paying those players wages. And so instead of paying the wages for 2 months, we pay them in August. I couldn't tell you, but you're not setting your manager up in the best way if you do that, because we've seen from Ten Hag, and really from any manager, to my opinion, Ten Hag was a little bit too dogmatic and legalistic when it came to this, but we saw that he likes his players to get time. He doesn't trust them to be able to do the job. That's why when we brought Casemiro in August, McTominay kept playing for the first several weeks because Casemiro needed time. Ronaldo didn't play right away when Ten Hag got here because he was gone all preseason. You can't be gone all preseason with a new manager and then just expect to come in and hit the ground running. So it is what it is. So I think there's a balance there, but we need players in January. Like, we don't have an excuse. But what happens in January, maybe more importantly, what doesn't happen in January, to me is going to be highly indicative of where Ineos' priorities are right now, in terms of, have they just given Amorim a free hit to do what he wants? Are they setting up a plan for the summer? Are they focusing on other things? Are they prioritizing, like reducing like spending? I don't know, but we'll find out. Whew, I gotta take a drink. I'm talking a lot today. Ooh, that's cold. That's disgusting. Box says, talking about the Cunha non-ban, if that was a United player. Yeah, I don't like to get into the whole, like, that kind of area personally. We've seen Casemiro basically get deported for less than that. And so I'm just like, come on. Not only should he have just been banned immediately, but it's taken more time, like twice as much for him to get. We don't even know what's going to happen yet. Bexy says Cole Palmer would be a hell of a signing. Won't happen though. I read that McAteer is wanting to leave, and a lot of people are comparing that to the Cole Palmer situation at City. I don't watch enough City, and I don't think McAteer's played enough for me to know if he's decent. You guys let me know if you've watched a little bit more of that. Palace what? Danny says smart buy from Palace. Who are we talking about? Who's a smart buy from Palace? Maybe I missed something. Danny says, we should be signing off on a transfer deal now for next week for a player to be ready. We should. Hopefully under the new regime, what I also didn't like under the old regime too, if you guys remember, that we waited until the transfer window opened to then start talking to other clubs and players. Like, you guys know you can do all this and get this all situated like mid-season. How many players have Dortmund pretty much done that with? Dortmund have routinely agreed to deals on players in like October, November for the following summer. They'll even announce it. They don't care. We need to be looking at those kind of deals. Oh, you're talking about Sarr, Danny? Yeah, okay. I couldn't remember. I haven't watched as many other Premier League matches this year as I usually do. I think that doing the channel now is making me a little more busy. Most of the time now is spent on the computer doing research and putting together notes for these shows and whatnot. So, but you guys, it's prediction time. Darkro, big up, my guy. Welcome back. It's prediction time. What are we predicting for this one? You guys let me know your score predictions for this one. I don't have any confidence in getting points against Newcastle. I really don't. I guess the only plus you could look at is that we can't drop down the table if we lose, because I think we're like 5 points ahead of Leicester. I think we were below us. Heck, if we win, we could potentially jump to the dizzying heights of 11th from 14th. But it's going to be a struggle. I think that it's going to get worse before it does get better. I think that maybe around March, February, that we'll start to maybe put together some things. But I think January is going to be a difference maker, both positively or potentially negatively. I think January is the make or break for us in terms of what we can do. I think we're probably not going to get relegated. The way we're playing, though, we're not putting ourselves in the best position. But Danny says 3-1 Newcastle. Oh, fucking hell. Darko says 1-1. Darko has a lot of confidence. Are you G-Wolf in disguise, Darko? Bandomac, wow, even more. Just went full like G-Wolf on steroids with the positivity. 1-0 United. I have no faith, but the last time I made a prediction for a win, we beat City. Well, I have to look on what I see, and what I see is not good. What I see is shit, and I don't see it turning around any bit. Again, no Bruno, no Ugarte. The Bruno, some people will argue, okay, Bruno actually helps if he's not playing. Some people would think that would be good to drop him. We lost all the games we didn't have him last year when he was injured, those last, 3 or 4 games. So I think the numbers speak for themselves. Ugarte, for me, is the bigger miss. Ugarte is literally the only player who is putting in a shift, and he's doing it every single match. We have to basically have 2 players now to make up for one Ugarte being missing, which takes away from another position on the pitch. And that's where I don't see this going well for us. What's going on? Danny says G-Wolf on steroid. God love him, man. G-Wolf is he's not the toxic positivity. He just backs the club. He loves his club. He thinks we're going to win all the time. And you know what? I'm here for it. I just don't agree with it. It just is what it is. Will Onana be sold? I think Onana could be sold in the summer. Onana has a Saudi league written all over him if he doesn't turn his shit around, doesn't he? Bring back Vitek. Do it. Danny, let me know. Do we have a buyback option on Kovar either? You let me know. Darko says our next win will be in January against the Saints. I hope so, Darko, because I'll be there for that match. I'll be there for that match and the Brighton match. I'm the bad luck charm I'm starting to worry about, though. We lost both matches I was at last year. My buddy Justin and I, if you guys remember Justin from the transfer window rating show, we will be over there in a couple weeks. And so hopefully we get a win. Hopefully, we get some points on the board. I just don't know, man. We'll see. Danny does not like Onana. He hopes he will be sold. Darko says, play Licha alongside Casemiro. Yeah, Danny said the same thing, Darko. He said the same thing. I've seen a lot of people saying maybe. I know, didn't Licha, when he was younger, either before, because he came from the Mexican league. I feel like he came from the Mexican. I don't remember off the top of my head. Didn't he play in defensive midfield for a minute? He might even play there a little bit at Ajax. I don't remember off the top of my head, though. Danny says, I was saying Maz or Licha could be an option too, Darko. Maz worries me in the pivot because just the way he's been trying to dribble across the box and he keeps losing the ball in defense. I worry about that in midfield, especially against that 4-5-1 that Newcastle will sit in off the ball. I just don't know, man. I really don't. Maybe we'll throw him in the 10 again. I don't know. Yeah, Dan, I remember he played. I just can't remember if it was at Ajax or if it was before he got to Ajax. I really don't know. Bexy says Ineos will act fast. Sir Jim doesn't want to look incompetent. Well, I mean, if he doesn't want to look incompetent, then he's need to make some better decisions in some areas. I know some people have been really, really unhappy, like the mouse dropping situation. Again, the mouse dropping situation, okay, it's not a good look, but that's not on Ineos. I posted about that too when that came out. United have been bottom of the food hygiene rating since last year. This time, they just have. I posted the table on Twitter on United versus Everybody Twitter. We've been bottom of that. That is the situation that Ineos have inherited. Is the shit like even as down as the rest, like the food, and like I didn't get any food when I was there, but from what I saw, it doesn't look good. And the stadium is so old. It's next to the canal. It's next to the railroad. It's literally impossible to keep mice or birds out. I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying, like, that's what Ineos inherited. It's another item on the list that Ineos have to try to fix. But the media is going to run with it and say, look at what Ineos are doing. And you got all the AI images of Sir Jim as a rat and shit. But because people are running with it, man. People need to stop getting their news from social media and start reading the articles. Do a little bit of research. I found out that food hygiene stuff in a matter of a couple minutes just Googling. The same way I found out about this former player charity information that I posted about earlier too. It doesn't take long. The media doesn't want you to do that, though. Darko says, Danny, we were required to play 2 CDMs since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. It's more like since guys like Carrick and whatnot retired, man. Box is predicting a 4-2 loss, so you're very optimistic that we're going to get 2 goals. We haven't scored in the last couple games, man. Danny says, I never bought a proper one until Eric Ten Hag came in, Darko. Yeah, I think since who was the last like true proper like defensive midfielder we had? Because Casemiro, you could argue with Casemiro, but his legs were already gone by then. Matic, to me, wasn't really a defensive midfielder. He's what I call like a holding midfielder, like a Busquets. So definitely Ugarte for me. Who else? Maybe Schneiderlin. Do we call Schneiderlin a defensive midfielder under Van Gaal? But he didn't really make it, did he? Bach says it's going to be 4-0 or 4-1. Yeah. If we get a goal, I'll be shocked. I wish I had a prediction for you. I don't have a prediction. I don't think we're gonna win though. It's about as close to my prediction gets. I'll just throw it out there. I'll say 3-1 Newcastle. That'll be my prediction. I have no reason for that other than I don't think we're gonna win. But Darko says Keane. Yeah, Keno. I think Keno gets. Sometimes he can get typecast as a DM. He was more of an 8. He was more of a box to box. He was just so physical. And just intense that he did do a lot of more defensive work. But Keno, if you remember from his early days, he got a lot of goals. He was getting involved. He was making a lot of late runs, making a lot of really good passes. Danny B says Carrick was probably last. Yeah, Carrick, man, I miss Carrick. The guy was just like so class in midfield, man. Like he's so good. So underrated, probably up there for me with like Ollie and maybe and Beckham. You guys know my reasons for saying this about Beckham. It's in terms of our like most underrated like footballers at this club that we've had. Bexy says the stadium stuff isn't that deep. It's just clickbait stories, but the Glazers are economic bandits, no different to scammers. They operate legally though, crooks. Yeah, there's a book back here. Let me get it. So this book is all about the Glazer ownership of United, the world's biggest cash machine by Blackhurst. Good book, all about the Glazers' ownership of the club, how they got the club, all that. To think it all started with a fucking racehorse, right? Go check that book out if you can. I might do a stream in the future where I kind of go through a couple of my favorite football books. You guys can see behind me, there's shelves and shelves and shelves of football books. Some tactics, some biographies, some historic. Some of them are very, very good, and I think there's a fair few that any football fan should read. And there's a couple of them that I read pretty much once a year because they're that good. Bandamex says, yeah, Roy Keane. Yeah, Danny says, yeah, he was more of an 8. He was definitely more of a box-to-box, but he was very physical. He's kind of like Ander Herrera. If you guys remember Ander Herrera, I mean, who doesn't, right? Not really a defensive midfielder, but just a ratter, just got around the pitch. Ander Herrera was actually a 10 for a while at Bilbao. But at United, he was seen as more of like, you just mark people, you just get involved. And we love him for getting Gerrard sent off. So that was awesome. Jemba, how dare you? How dare you? Pandomac. Box says, Keno, the complete CM. He was complete in he could pass, he could shoot, he could put in a shift. He was a leader on and off the pitch. He set the tone at that club. Box says, Anderson used to pocket Fabregas and Gerrard. Yeah, there are many midfielders that we've had that can do a job. I'm still happy that Anderson's got more Premier League medals than Steven Gerrard. So this is always the argument that you have to bring up with Liverpool fans when they start going on and on about stuff, because they'll want to talk about trophies now, but then when you want to turn it around and say, well, how many Premier Leagues does Steven Gerrard have compared to, like, oh, I don't know, Anderson? Like, then they want to shut the hell up and not talk anymore. Everybody, it's the only sure thing you're going to get from football fans is moving the goalposts, and it goes round and round. Box says, Rock of Gibraltar. That's right, man. It all started with a freaking racehorse. It is what it is. Darko, who remembers Sir Alex played Giggs as a CDM against West Ham, I think, before giving him a 1-year extension. Giggs, so there was a clip going around last night on Twitter. It was highlights of only Ryan Giggs in the 2013-14 season playing against, or maybe it was 2012-2013 season, playing against Real Madrid in the Champions League. It was whenever Madrid had those dark green jerseys. I don't remember what year it was. And Giggs, at 39 years old in that match, was a force of nature. He literally, at 39 years old, makes every single player in our squad, bar one or two, look like right mugs. He was arguably one of the best players on the pitch that night at 39 years old. I'm 39 years old, and that shit made me feel lazy as hell watching that dude play. Giggs is one of my favorite players. There used to be the jersey over here next to me. You guys see now it's my Cantona jersey. The Giggs one is up here. I bumped into it yesterday when I went to sit down, and it fell on the floor and got a little crack. So I moved it up so you guys wouldn't see the crack. So it's still here. I just moved it out of the frame first time. But we can deal with Cantona for a little while. I've got more. Maybe I'll rotate them throughout the year. Who knows? Box says, I think so, Darko. What about the Raphael and Fabio CM duo? Raphael, we don't really hear a lot about Fabio. When we hear about the De Silvas, it's usually Raphael. I remember Raphael had that screamer. I think it was against, was that against Madrid or Bayern? I don't remember that screamer, though. Good goal. Danny B says, yeah, he played them there more than once. Yeah, this is why Sir Alex is always going to be the best, like the GOAT. The GOAT. Like, that's just is what it is. These days, Pep isn't even a lamb. He's not the GOAT. Kagawa 1, Gerrard 0. Exactly. Slippy G can do one. Danny B says, is Ugarte the closest thing we have had to Keno? Maybe not going forward. I mean, in terms of just work rate and physicality, probably, yeah. I think maybe you could argue maybe Ander Herrera is probably the closest up there as well. But yeah, definitely Ugarte's got that dog in him for sure. Maybe Licha from a defensive standpoint. Darko says, Box, even Alan Smith has played there, and he got that terrible injury with which Van Nistelrooy went to see and shun his face. Yeah, you guys, what had me dying so much is the first time I looked at a picture of Alan Smith next to Donny van de Beek. They look so alike. It's so funny. I do remember Alan Smith though. RSV, welcome, my friend. How are you? It says, the only positives I have for the game on Monday is Bruno not playing and also Newcastle never win at Old Trafford in the Premier League. Well, now you just jinxed it. So thank you for that, RSV. We just jinxed it. Even though they were one in the Carabao Cup last year, yeah. Newcastle are right now so much better than we are. We are shit. As you guys remember, my match reaction to the Wolves game, my 3 points were, we're shit, and we're shit. So very good tactical analysis. Giggs and Scholes throwbacks. Yeah, man. Giggsy's one of my favorite players. Scholes probably definitely up there. One of my favorite players ever. Darko, Danny, I think he played Giggs there in one of the UCL finals against Barcelona. That's the thing about Giggs, man. He could just do it no matter what you needed from him. Giggs was better at 39 than most of the footballers are today at their prime age. Danny says, yeah, Darko. Season after that, too, he played there, I'd say, yeah. Danny always forget about Alan Smith. Yeah, there've been a lot of players that have come through in those like mid 2000s, early 2000s that kind of come and gone. We all do forget about every now and then. Um, oh, let me wrap up a couple of these super chats and let you guys get back to your weekend. Park Ji-sung, when he was asked to man mark a player, never got a look in. Yeah, Park was an absolute legend of this club. He and Nicky Butt up there is just straight up soldiers. Whatever you needed from him, they would do it, hands down. Wes Brown's up there. John O'Shea's up there. Even Daley Blind, to an extent, you can put up there as well in that category of just utility. Whatever you need, boss. I got you covered. We're going to get it done. Danny says, we need to pack that midfield, like I was saying at the start of the stream. Yeah. If Amorim had ever really played a 3-5-2, Danny, I would say 3-5-2 for sure. That's what I predicted. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm just saying that's probably what I would have gone with. We just don't do that. And again, you know what the press are going to do if he does deviate even slightly. He's going to, I mean, Robbie Savage is already saying he's abandoned his principles, even though he didn't. Robbie Savage knows fuck all about football. I'm telling you, the guy is still butthurt that we sold his son. That's all there is to it. I would like to see a 3-5-2 given who we're missing in midfield, and we just need bodies. But I think our issue is just not getting the ball forward. And I think that with more bodies in midfield, we can go toe-to-toe a little bit, and we can do that. What the hell? There's like sirens outside. Crazy. 3 Long Park. Exactly. Let me wrap up here. Darko says, a point against Newcastle is all we want, and a point against Liverpool and 1 or 2-0 defeat against Arsenal in the FA Cup. I actually think we have a better chance of getting something against Arsenal than we do against Liverpool. Liverpool are just too good right now. But Liverpool are an example of how you run a club properly, how you rebuild, and you rebuild the right way. They had 1 rebuild, and that was it, and then we've had like 5 or 6, and we just never did it right. 40 points in the PL is all I want. 40 points, they say, can keep you up, but we will see. Danny says, should have never sold Blind. I do like Daley Blind. He went to Ajax and got a hat trick like after we sold him. And then now I think he's at Girona now with Donny van de Beek, just doing their thing. Maybe we can use Daley Blind and Donny to help us get Gutierrez. Savage is a clown. He is such a Robbie Savage, man. Did he ever cut his hair? I can't remember now if he's still got that long, stupid looking hair. The guy is clean. Banamac, never want to hear Savage commentate on United ever again. Yeah, dude is literally just butthurt that we sold his kid. That's all there is to it. And I'm sorry. I mean, Charlie Savage, he wasn't bad. It's just not every academy product is going to be United level. It just is what it is. We try to force it, and we will struggle. I say all that, but then Elanga scores and Forrest are like high up the table, so it is what it is. Darko says, we will see Liverpool quadruple at this rate. God, I hope not. Danny B says, he tell Gutierrez to run millions of miles away from us. I mean, Gutierrez will come in and literally will start week in, week out right now. He'll play, and he'll play on a bigger platform, and a bigger league. Like he'll have a chance. And the problem is getting Real Madrid to I mean, obviously I think Real Madrid have a buyback and they have a sell on. Maybe if we tell, again, like I said the other day, if we would just tell Madrid, like, listen, we will get you have Alphonso Davies all you want to. Just go easy on Girona in terms of this sell on, and let's see if we can renegotiate that. And we're going to get Gutierrez, because Gutierrez would be a cheap option. I think he's got a 35 million euro release clause. Girona could be open to let him go for less than that. I think Girona do need some money, so we could maybe get something like that done. RSV says, not trying to be salty, but Liverpool have benefited a lot from other teams being crap this season and face various big clubs with so many key injuries. Well, I think that Liverpool kind of did. They set Slot up in the best way possible. They had a team of winners, a team of like some world-class players, and it was a very smooth transition for them. If you notice, they haven't really played too differently because the players don't have to. Now, the real test of Liverpool is what's going to happen when guys like, when they lose Trent, when they lose Robertson, when they lose Salah, when they lose Van Dijk, and they have to actually rebuild under Slot. That's where I think you're going to see Liverpool struggle a bit, but they're going to front end that right now, get the last little bit of football out of these guys as they can. What Slot walked into is kind of like what Sir Alex had at United for the last couple of years. He had players who were probably past their prime, but still could do it. Still better than a lot of players in the Premier League, and he's just getting the last little ounce of football out of him that he can. So it is that it is. Again, this is what happens though when you're running the club and you're doing it properly over the course of the years. These players at Liverpool were already fit. They're already class players. They're already winners. Like that's what Slot walked into. I would argue you could put a lot of other managers in that same situation that Arne Slot walked into, and you'd probably get similar results. That's not me being salty. That's just me looking at it objectively. Like, because I've just said, like, they have world class players. They have winners in that side. You can't argue with that. But you're not wrong, RSV. I mean, they have benefited. I mean, I think you're never going to win an argument with a Liverpool fan right now saying the league is weak. I think the league is really weird this year when you look at how many teams are in and around the top 6-7 spots. You know, guys like Fulham, Forest, Bournemouth. Is that the way the table is going to look at the end of the season? I don't know, but it's really interesting the way the league is playing out right now. Solid player. You talking about Gutierrez? Yeah, he's excellent. Bach says, I was surprised that City fell off this much, that Arsenal have been inconsistent by their recent standards. Yeah, Arsenal missed their chance, in my opinion, to win major trophies. City's drop-off is so stark and so sudden that I don't think it is as simple as the players are just old or whatever. I think, or injuries even. I think there's something more going on behind the scenes at City, that these players are playing like they're literally in their minds just going, what's the point? They just don't look like they're trying. They spent way too much on shit players. Guardiola and Grealish are not worth $200 million together. They're not. They've struggled as a result. Danny B says, Me Too Box shows what bad recruitment can do. Yeah. Recruitment and a lack of any sort of structure or a plan for that moving for the long term can make or break. You know, Liverpool and United are shining examples of that. I think Liverpool probably like to downplay the fact that Klopp took so long to win anything, but they had a long-term plan. They stuck with it. Same as Arsenal to an extent. I think a better manager than Arteta might have gotten a little more out of Arsenal. Maybe wouldn't have finished 8th, 5th in bottled leagues and stuff, but then that's where a good manager can make a difference, in my opinion. Darko, Slot deserves some credit. I gave him some credit. I mean, I don't think that Slot is as good as some people will have you think. He wasn't that good in the Dutch league. It took Ten Hag leaving for Slot to win anything in the Dutch league. I don't think that Slot is good. I think people like him more because he's better at communicating, and because he's not at United. Again, if Klopp would have came to United, it would have been, the media narrative around him would have been completely different. If Slot would have come to United, the media narrative around him would be different. We know that the media loves to hate on us, and I don't see anything from Slot in terms of tactics and stuff that we haven't already seen from Liverpool, is what I'm saying. Bach says United and Spurs have been really poor at times as well. Yeah, everybody's been shit, man. Then he says, yeah, I agree, Darko. He's been a lot better than I thought. Yeah, I mean, Slot is doing a fine job. I think that in terms of the tactics and the way that the players are playing, though, they're doing a lot of the same things. Now, I think he's probably getting more. What I will credit him for is he's getting more out of guys like Gravenberch, for instance. Gravenberch wasn't really doing a whole lot under Jurgen Klopp. Maybe Slot just is playing him a little differently than Klopp was. Maybe it's just a matter of him getting acclimated to the league. I couldn't tell you, but there's nothing that I'm seeing from Liverpool that we weren't seeing under Klopp. You know, the players are doing the same exact things. Darwin Nunez is still shit. Guys like Salah and Van Dijk are still doing what they always do. It's not as if we're seeing anything totally different from them. Is the point I'm making. If you close your eyes really tightly, you wouldn't be able to tell that the managers were any different. Is basically the point I'm getting. But we're gonna see what happens when, you know, Slot has to build and rebuild that squad the same way we're seeing what's happening now that Pep maybe has to start doing that. And so again, I haven't seen enough of Slot to tell me that, you know, if he's bad or good. I'm not saying it's a conversation of bad and good. I'm just saying when the world-class players leave the club, we're going to see what happens. So we're going to leave it on that one for today, my friends. Thank you, everyone, for stopping by. This turned into a much longer stream than I anticipated, but I am here for it. As long as you guys want to chat, I'm here for it. So I'm going to let you guys get back to your Saturday, though. I'm going to go let my dogs out because they're down in their kennels because they can't be trusted otherwise because they're a bunch of turds. Until next time, though, what's today? Saturday? Matches on Monday. I might do something tomorrow, maybe like a little bit of a scout report, maybe just a little off video. It depends on what pops into my mind throughout the day. I don't know yet, but I'm sure we'll be back at some point before the match because I don't like to go a whole day without saying hi to everybody. But thank you everyone for stopping by today. We got some new faces in with Bexy. Thank you, Danny B, Box, Darkro, Uzman, everybody for stopping by today. RSV, as always. Bando Mac, I appreciate everyone stopping by, Box. Enjoy your Saturday. I will see you guys on the next one, and I will talk. Oh, don't forget to hit the like button on your way out, please. And if you're new and you like what you see and you want to get involved, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. Check out the memberships if you get a chance. It gets you a little bit more involved in the channel if that's something you're interested in. But until then, I'll see you guys later. Enjoy your Saturdays, and hopefully, we'll talk about something positive next week. But see you later, guys.